Hi, friends. What's going on today? Oh my gosh, I have such an amazing topic for you guys today. And I'm going to just dive right in. We're going to talk about the tricks of the ego and how the ego keeps you small and limited, keeps you playing a small game. And this topic actually woke me up this morning. And I started to really think about the ways that our fearful minds really hold us back. And also how when we become consciously aware of these triggers and these thoughts and these behaviors and these patterns, we can actually wake up from the ego and transcend the ego into our higher selves. So let me just, if you're kind of not necessarily exactly sure about what the ego is, the ego is quite literally your fearful mind. That's what A Course in Miracles, that's how A Course in Miracles defines your ego, your fearful mind. And it's an aspect of your mind that actually was created by your higher self to help you experience the illusion of separation, so that when you return back to love, when you return back to wholeness, you actually get to experience it from a conscious level instead of just it always being present in your life and therefore not really understanding. Like, for example, if there was always sunshine and there was never darkness, we ultimately wouldn't really know what sun was, right? We wouldn't know what light was. So in order to know what something is, you have to first experience what it isn't. And that's what our ego was created to do, is to create that illusion of separation so that we can return back to wholeness and actually experience our infinite wisdom, experience abundance, experience the return to love, experience all of the great joy and passion and all of the things that ultimately are the truth. Because first we experienced the illusion of fear, right? So our egos aren't bad. Our egos aren't trying to hurt us. Our ego wants to keep us in survival, but ultimately it's like having a 5-year-old child trying to run the show of your life, right? If you want to actually evolve spiritually, you have to transcend, lovingly accept the part of you, that fearful part of you that is miscreating. And then at some point, wake up to the acknowledgement that there is an aspect of you that is much, much, much more capable of running the show. And we bring the ego or our fearful mind back into the loving arms of our higher self so that we can, again, return back to our infinite power. So I love to just kind of create this image of perfection. So if you can just imagine what life would look like with absolute perfection, complete limitless possibilities, only things that feel and look good to you, just absolute perfection from your perspective. That's ultimately what life is capable of giving you. But then whenever you as you grow up and when you're in your family and all of the beliefs and the thoughts that were handed down to you from well-meaning people like your teachers and your parents, they create this veil. Not those people, but your thoughts, right? So as you adopt these thoughts and this limited energy, it starts to distort that picture of perfection. And it starts to give you the impression that life is limited in some way. And as you begin to adopt those beliefs, then that is what you experience in the physical world instead of the reality with a capital R of perfection. So when we are returning back to wholeness, we're actually returning back to that perfect picture, to the level at which we can adopt it and return back to it. So if you were able to just completely eliminate all your fearful thoughts, all of the limitations that your ego has developed throughout the course of your life, you would actually be able to return back to your infinite power and perfection. There's nothing that you wouldn't be able to do. There's nothing that you couldn't manifest at just the snap of a finger. And I truly believe, like, this is just going down the rabbit hole a little bit, but I truly believe that in several lifetimes from now, that actually will become our experience. But for now, as we are in our human bodies and with a limited mind, our responsibility is to simply become aware and acknowledge where we're holding ourselves back. And awareness is so much part of the picture that when you become aware of the way that your fearful mind is functioning, that's like 80% of it, right? So when you shine light on your ego thoughts, when you shine light on the limitations, when you just acknowledge that this is a fearful part of you miscreating on your behalf, then you can actually do something about it, right? And a lot of times what people want to do is eradicate it, get rid of the ego, kick fear in its face, right? And whatever you resist is going to persist more powerfully. So whatever you try to fight is going to fight back. The true answer is returning that fearful part of you back to love. So remember, I was saying that your ego is like a 5-year-old trying to run the show. When you have a child that unknowingly is doing things that is hurting that child more than helping it, you don't kick it in its face. You bring it close to you and you hold it and you say, I love you, I accept you. And then you return it back to its infinite wisdom, right? So I took some notes this morning because I was just like, what are some of the ego tricks? What are some of those games that our ego plays with us to keep us separate, to keep us from really understanding our true power, our true limitless nature, from being able to experience this physical life in all of the amazing wonders that it has to offer? And I want to share those with you. And I have a list, but it's not definitive. Like there's, I'm sure, tons of other things, but the things that really came to me that I see as a repeat pattern within me and within the people that I coach, and even, as I socialize with people on social media and in my life, my friends, my family, these are things that show up over and over and over again. And so I'm sure that you'll be able to relate. If you can relate to some of them, give me some hearts so that I know that you're really feeling it. And then I'm going to, as I lay out some of the tricks of the ego, I want to return you back to the truth and help you to bring that fearful part of you back to wholeness, right? So my true deepest passion is that all of us begin to wake up more and more and more to the truth of who we are, to expand our containers to what's available, to live life as our unlimited self so that we can experience life from the perspective of abundance instead of limitation, because that's what's possible. And that's really what we came here to experience. We came here to experience the illusion temporarily and then return back to love and create from our power, create from our limitless nature, create from not creating from fear and like, I have to have this, but creating from, I am the artist of this picture and what is it that I want to paint today? Doesn't that feel so good? Doesn't that feel so much more empowering than, I need to get this and I need to manifest this and I need to create this because my life isn't good and perfect just the way that it is. So I need to go out and bring something to me. I need to attract something to me. I'm going to use the law of attraction in order to get something so that I can feel good. That type of manifesting and creating is going to create the most temporary satisfaction, and it will always return you back to that fearful place of needing more. So when you transcend the ego, or when you integrate the ego, then you're creating from the place of perfection and ever unfolding, of that perfection ever unfolding, right? So everything's perfect, whole and complete as it is, and it's always expanding into something even greater. And I hope that really sets you on fire. I hope that really excites you, because it is so much more powerful to create from that place than to create from your ego. Okay, so I'm just going to read from my list because I don't want to forget any of them. But the first one is that the first trick that your ego mind tries to convince you is that you need to be somewhere else or have something else before you actually can be happy or feel good. So think about that in your life, right? And by the way, if you are like, oh yeah, that's me, it doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you less than. It doesn't make you unworthy. It just simply means that is where your ego is miscreating in the moment. And I will tell you that probably every single one of these is something that I experience consistently. But the cool thing is that as you become aware of them, it just is like a fleeting kind of, oh, there's my ego again. Let me lovingly return it back to the truth. Because the truth is that there is no place that you need to be except for where you are right now. When you can accept where you are as this is where I need to be, then everything is perfect and this is part of the journey. So there might be a place that you want to be at that you're not currently at. There might be something that you want to receive that's not currently in your experience, but it doesn't take away from the excellence that is right here and tangible for you right now. And when you acknowledge that there is nowhere else that you need to be except for right here, it's going to take you into where it is that you want to go so much faster, because there's no resistance. You're not saying, I want to be over there, but I'm here. You're saying, this is how I want my life to look, and it's ever unfolding, and where I am is perfect. Second one is, there's something wrong with life just the way that it is. And it's kind of similar to the last one, but it's saying that when something changes, then my life will be right. But right now it's not right, because maybe it's not right because I'm physically ill. Maybe it's not right because I don't have enough money. Maybe it's not right because whatever those reasons are. Again, if you can shift your perspective and say, what does this experience have to offer me? Because there's a gift in every single moment. And when you can open your eyes to what that gift is, you get to experience it. You get to internalize it. You get to learn from it. And then as you no longer need those experiences in order to help you to realize that perspective, it lets go. You don't need it anymore. And you're able to enter into those higher realms that actually feel even better, right? Another one is, this is my favorite. This is what, like, I was meditating this morning, and this is my exact experience. I shit you not. When our desires are always to feel good, right? We want to feel good, because when we feel good, we feel God. When we're feeling in alignment, that means that we are right then and there in alignment with the thoughts of God. And so when we're in meditation, the goal is to let go of all our thoughts, and not necessarily to quiet our minds, but just to be the witness and to feel good as we are more in alignment with the truth of who we are. And whenever you are in meditation, that good feeling is going to create circumstances, situations, and experiences that feel good to you. And so what your ego is going to do is, as soon as you start to feel good, your ego is going to say, okay, great, you feel great. Now get up and start to do your thing. Instead of sitting in the presence, sitting in the silence, sitting in the space in between, and actually allowing that God source energy, that life force, to giving it a little bit of time to get ahead of you so that it can start to create on your behalf. So when you're in meditation, the goal isn't to feel good and as soon as you feel good to move forward. The goal is to sit and to be still and to allow. Okay, so the last two that I want to talk about, and this is how conniving your ego can be. It tells you one thing and then the exact opposite, and it tries to convince you that both are true. So you are in constant conflict, right? It's like there is no, it gives you no grace whatsoever. So on one hand, the ego will tell you that you need all of these material things, that you need to have more money, that you need to have that bigger house, that you need to have a better car or whatever, right? And that those are the things that really matter. And so all of this internal work that you're doing is so that you can get these material things, because it's the material world that ultimately matters. That's on one side of it. And then your ego is also going to convince you that the material world doesn't matter at all, that you should just stay in this enlightened state and sit in a cave and meditate for the rest of your life and just completely give up all of the joys of the material world. When in reality, it's a combination of both. So your spiritual practice and the connection that you have is infinitely the most important thing. But because we are human beings, we came here to experience that awakened state in this physical world. So what does that awakened state look like in your physical nature? What is it that you can experience through that infinite possibilities? How do you want to bring that into earth and experience it as your unique self? How do you want to experience infinite abundance? Because the way that you want to experience it is going to look completely different than how I want to experience it. And God gets to experience it through you and through me and through everybody else in infinite ways. So it's not just one and it's not just the other. It's the combination of both. And the ego wants to convince you that it's this one and this one, not this one, not this one. And you have to bring the two together. And that's when you really truly experience joy and abundance and creativity, because you know that it's simply you manifesting all that is possible through your preferences, through what it is that you desire. But it's not wanting and needing to be somewhere else because you think that that's going to be better than where you are. It's seeing everything as an opportunity to expand and to grow and to start where you are and to love where you are and to learn from where you are, and then expand, expand, expand every single day. It's just a constant expanding. Part of that expanding is letting go of your fearful thoughts. Lovingly just draw into your heart like a little lost child, that fearful ego that's trying to convince you that you need to stay small and safe. It's okay. It's okay that your ego is having this existential crisis, but you are bigger than that. You are ultimately in control. And when your ego makes you believe that your fears are in control, the only thing that you have to do is remember that there is a higher aspect of you that is much wiser, much more aware, much that just knows more, that can see the bigger picture. We can't see the whole picture in our human limited self, but our higher self can. And as we expand into that perspective, that's how we get to experience life. So my question to you today is, how is it that you want to experience life? Do you want to surrender to that larger aspect of you, even in those times, and it's going to be the majority of the time when you don't know exactly what that's supposed to look like. You don't know exactly what it is that you desire. You think you know, but the end result might look vastly different than the way that you imagine it right now. And your higher self knows much better than you exactly what that picture looks like that will bring you exactly how you want to feel. I just want to review this to see if there's anything else that there is one more. Okay, one more. And that is, again, we were talking about that, like the resistance between like, it has to be this way, it has to be this way, it can't look like this, it can't look like that. Well, the ego is going to try to convince you that you need to take action, do, move, when you really need to start by being still. The ego is going to try to tell you, you need to get things done. You only have a limited amount of time, that things have to, like, you got to move. And the way that you are guided to actually make the choices and expand time is by being still. And again, allowing your higher self, allowing God to lead. And you can't allow God to lead if you're the one that's always pushing forward, trying to make things happen. And then on the flip side, whenever it's time to take action, it's time to actually get into the world, it's time to do the thing, your mind is going to try to convince you that no, let's just sit here, let's meditate, let's be still, right? And so you might be asking yourself, okay, well, how do I know? How do I know which one I'm supposed to do? If there's always a time to take action and there's always a time to sit still, how do I know? And the answer is simply, whenever you are motivated by fear or the fear of missing out or the need to do something because you feel frantic, that is not being guided by love. That is being guided by your ego. So you bring yourself back, and in that moment, you're still and quiet. When you're afraid to take action, when you feel like this is really what I need to do, but I'm afraid of rejection, I'm afraid of failure, I'm afraid of messing up, that's time to take action. That's time to be faithful, to trust that everything is unfolding, everything's working out in your favor, everything's happening in its perfect divine timing, and then taking those steps forward and taking the risk of falling on your face, because it's going to happen, right? This is just us and our human experience, learning every single step of the way what brings us back to more of our intelligence, more of our creative wisdom, more of our infinite abundance. And so there is a time to take action and to put yourself into into the role of receiving because of your showing up. And then there's also a time to be still. So just ask yourself, which voice is running the show right now? Is it my fearful voice that's telling me that if I don't do this, that I'm going to miss out? Or is it my loving voice that says, I'm here with you, I'm guiding you, I'm supporting you. Nobody else's opinion matters. We're doing this for our own awakening, for our own purpose. Let's do this. I got your back. Doesn't that feel good? So just be consciously aware today. Just bring awareness to your life, to the thoughts that you think. And if you feel frantic, if you feel fearful, lovingly bring that fearful voice back into your heart. Love and accept the part of you that has miscreated, and then return back to love. And whenever you do that over and over and over again, your ego or your mind begins to see that life is better in a place of surrender. That life feels good whenever they're in the absence of fear. Life starts to feel good. And then all of this starts to become a whole lot easier because there's not a lot of resisting, right? And actually, ultimately, when there is no resisting, that's when that transition happens a lot better. But your ego wants to resist, and so when your ego is resisting, then the practices are a little bit more challenging. But then whenever your ego can start to see that life becomes amazing and good, whenever you kind of turn the reins over to that higher source, then these practices become easier. So as you practice returning your fearful self back to love, just remember that if it feels like a struggle right now, it's just because it's something that you're not used to quite yet. It's something that your ego is going to kind of become a little bit more ugly before it transcends back into love, before it transcends back into beauty, because it's so afraid. So just expect that and be okay with that. Be okay with whatever comes up, but be wiser than your ego. Be smarter, be more aware of that fearful voice, because that's really the only thing that you have to do is bring awareness to it. And then once you're aware of it, then you get to transcend it. So I hope this message has spoken to you as much as it spoke to me today. I hope that as you go throughout your day, you return back to love over and over and over again. And my prayer for you is that it becomes easier and more rewarding as you go, because I know that it has been my experience, and I can't imagine how that couldn't be somebody else's experience, that as you return back to the truth of who you are, that you just invite more joy into your life. So I love you guys, and I thank you for watching, and I can't wait to hear from you. And as you tell me some of those triggers that showed up, and what it was how you were capable and able to bring that back to your heart. So share with me, please make sure that you do. And I will see you guys on the next live. Bye.